Here today we have the Monitor Audio 7th generation speaker. Looking through the literature, a lot of it had to do with talking about increased volume, loudness, and power handling of the speaker. That stuff we love to hear, so we're going to put this speaker through its paces, and just like what we did with the Monitor Audio Bronze speakers, which really shocked us. Check it out on our short. We reached some incredible SPLs.
Monitor Audio are known for consistently high quality products and great value. This is the 7th generation Silver 500. How much more has this series improved over the previous generations? Let's get into it. Welcome to Hi-Fi. I'm Marcos, this is Kurt. Today we're listening to the Monitor Audio Silver 500 7th generation. At first look, the Monitor Audio Silver 500, starting at $3,800 for the pair, is a three-way speaker featuring a 1-inch C-cam tweeter, a 3-inch C-cam mid-range, and two 8-inch C-cam designed woofers. Featuring a sensitivity of 90.5 dB, a minimum impedance of 4 ohm, maximum at 8 ohm, and their power rating is around 80 to 250 watts.
So a couple of key technologies, according to Monitor Audio, is they develop what they call their C-cam drivers. It's a ceramic, magnesium, aluminum. That's a lot of mixing in materials. The whole idea was to increase the rigidity and power handling of the speaker while keeping it really quick. Another thing they did to further increase that rigidity is they put this kind of dimple design. It kind of reminds me of a golf ball, further increasing the stability of the drivers. Monitor Audio has also incorporated their new waveguide 2 system. The whole idea behind this is, of course, increasing the sensitivity above 10 kilohertz, further improving its overall loudness and performance of the speaker. Also, another notable thing about Monitor Audio is the drivers are secured from the rear of the cabinet. They have a long hole piece that goes right to the back of the driver. Feeling, in their terms, it feels it secures the driver a lot better to the cabinet and reducing any resonance between the cabinet and the driver itself.
Right out of the box, our Silver 500s are finished with the piano black high gloss finish. You can also get them in white gloss and real wood veneers, walnut, oak, and ash. With this many different finishes, it'll really suit a lot of different homes decors. Overall build quality is really nice. The gaps and seams are all even. I really like the little grill they put here between the mid-range and the tweeter. It's just a really nice, clean looking speaker. Another feature I really like about these are the bolt-on feet. They just give a lot of stability to the speaker, and they kind of improve its aesthetic as well. Overall, the Silver 500s, the thing that shined out the most for me was its bass performance. It is very impactful, very punchy, and very well pronounced. We measured it out, and it was quite linear as well. In the upper end of its frequencies on the Silver 500s, I found it to be a little bit accentuated at certain frequencies, but overall, still a nice presentation.
Compared to other UK designs, I do find the soundstage is a little bit more forward than usual. The one thing that was nice about the soundstage, it was pretty deep and actually relatively wide, especially at that price point. I also found that the imaging in general, it did a really good job. I was able to pinpoint a lot of where the instruments are, which we'll touch on a little bit further. But overall, well balanced in that regard. And the overall frequency response I would see on there, I wish it was a little bit smoother. There's some areas where you can hear it got really kind of peaky on some of on the higher frequencies, and also too is the mid-range. You can hear that. I don't know if it's cancellation effect within the crossover itself, but it was missing a little bit in certain areas.
When it came to our classic dB test, around 60 decibel talking volume, what I noticed the most was, again, that bass presence. It was still very noticeable even at that volume level.
At our 60 dB test, which is a normal listening talking conversation level, it did a really good job. I think the top end, because it has quite a bit of detail in the front end, in the top end, could still easily hear everything at a lower level, and the bass performance too, just like as you mentioned, was really good at that lower level as well.
At higher listening volumes, around 80 to 85 dBs, the Silver 500s really maintained their composure. They weren't breaking down at all. The bass was still really nice and punchy. I really enjoyed it.
You can really tell at the higher volumes, the speaker, all the improvements they talked about in the literature, it's true. I was surprised how I was able to keep his composure in the soundstage too as well. A lot of times when you're reaching the higher levels, things start to break down. In this, it really didn't break a sweat. And as promised, we really decided to really push the speaker to its limits. We reached over 100 decibels. I think actually 102 at one time as its peak, which is amazing in this room, especially when we're about 13 feet away. I think that's the loudest we've ever hit so far. And so all their claims are true. A speaker in that price range with that kind of output, I was really impressed. And I think that's what they're trying to capture, that customer, that if they want to really turn it up, well, this proves that it can do it no problem.
When it came to listening to the Silver 500s, we listened to a wide variety of music as usual. Two of the songs that really stood out for us, the first one, Alan Fitzpatrick, The Sweeper. The reason why I really enjoy the song, lots of really powerful bass and impact, which played really well with the strengths of the speaker. I found the impact felt it right in your chest. It was a really immersive experience.
In this track, it does really play to its strengths. The bass, although it is, of course, like a lot of speakers in this price range, it's going to be a little bit exaggerated, but not too much, not as much as I thought it was. The one thing is with the soundstage too as well, it went quite deep. I wish some of it would have been a little bit more seamless in this track. A lot of this track is really based on a lot of digitized sound effects, so it was really neat. One thing, what I really did is the precision of where I put a lot of the mid bass. So in one part, almost halfway through the song, you can hear that the bass, they're actually increasing it, the height on the soundstage, and you can get that feeling of that bass moving, I'll say more mid-high bass moving up into the mids. It was really impressive. It did such a good job layering all those different tones in the lower frequencies.
The second song we really liked was Diana Krall off her album Live in Paris, which is a live album. It's a big band jazz ensemble. The thing I really enjoyed about this track was how you could really hear all the instruments on the stage. The image was quite good, pretty deep as well, and I did find that did sound a little bit more forward. What I found was almost like the drums and the piano kind of felt like they were right next to me.
Yeah, and touching on the soundstage, I feel the same way. I think it's just what you're getting is a little bit more forward, which a lot of people will like. A lot of people like that sound as a little bit more forward. But for me, when I listen to live, I like getting that impression that the soundstage, kind of like what you're feeling, it should be quite far from you naturally in how you listen to it. One thing I did notice is when they're playing on the piano, you can really hear that some of the lower keys and the upper keys are a lot more pronounced, and especially compared to some of the stuff more in the middle. And another thing that was also apparent too as well was in the drums, where the snare is. It doesn't have that pop and stuff that it should. However, in the rest of the frequency range, in the lower and the upper, it really did a good job. One thing that really stood out on the speakers was the bass quality. It was on the double bass. You can really hear things were really really articulate. You can hear stuff, and even though a lot of times it's hard to pick up on that kind of stuff for a speaker because it is mic. A lot of times they're using the mics that are a lot farther away when they're doing the recording to give you that feeling of a live recording. So a lot of times picking up those little details, especially in the bass region, is pretty difficult. And this speaker just did an excellent job doing that.
We really recommend the Silver 500 for somebody who's really looking for a fun speaker that energizes the room. When it comes to room size, we'd recommend a medium to large-ish size room to bring out the best in the speaker and really energize that room.
The speaker overall will suit a wide genre of music. I would say if you're looking for that utmost, like say maybe jazz, classical, and really ultimate refinement, this might not be the speaker for you. However, though, for a lot of people, they like that more fun, energetic speaker, as you mentioned, that would really suit them well. And if you are going to use it for a lot of jazz and classical, but you like some of its other aspects, highly recommend using an amp that, for example, that has a little bit more body in the mids just to bring it out. And for example, you got companies like Hegel, Accuphase, Roxanne, which is I think one of its parent companies or sister companies. Any amplifiers like that would be a good match, and just make sure sometimes the best is just audition and see what would suit your taste with this speaker.
Our last recommendation with this speaker, I took them home to try out for a period of time, and I set them up in my theater, and I thought that's where they really shine. They're amazing for theater. And it's a really good speaker that kind of does both. You can use them in a 2-channel, and you can also use them in a theater. That impact and bass presence is awesome. Thanks for watching our video on the new Monitor Audio Silver 500 7th generation. Comment below if you have any questions, or if you own a pair, let us know what you think. See you in the next one.